welcome to an adventure in history with your forlorn and beaten to poop emotionally host, me, Shane McInnes. Today has been a really friggin' long day, full of unfortunate happenings, bad reviews, warnings from lots of stuff. It's been a mess. Been a mess. Almost canceled the stream, but figured I needed to have a positive experience to try to save the day. So, hope all of you are doing well. Yeah, it doesn't help when my Uber score goes down. How is everybody else? Oh, I meant to do this the other day when Vern came by. Vern was kind enough to subscribe at the end of a stream the other day. It's actually been about a week ago. And because he subscribed at the end of the stream, I'd already closed out the stream and I was on my away screen. It did not play the fanfare for Vern. So Vern, thank you for your subscription. Thank everybody for your subscriptions. I really do appreciate that. I honestly really do. But Vern, this one's for you, buddy. I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
If you did it to be innocuous, I'm not gonna let it go. People around here that are kind enough to give me actual money for what I do get recognized for it. I am incredibly grateful. I cannot say words that mean it the way that I feel. Thank you all seriously for being a part of this community that has really been a light in an otherwise pretty dark time in the world. So welcome everybody. Everybody is both Smarticus and Spartacus tonight. Is this thing on? I don't know. Is it on? I think I'm on. Oh, you lost connection. Okay. I was about to say, I'm not getting any little warnings or anything, but that doesn't mean anything because, you know, Twitch is being a little twitchy lately. So let me make sure that I said hello to everybody. Hello, Grethar. Hello, Vern.
I'm Spartacus. 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 I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus, and now you are Spartacus. Thank you very much, Kyle. Much appreciated, guys. I do have something of an unveil. Did I say hello to everybody? Kyle, hello. Vern, hello. Hey, Moose, how's it going? Moose, the podcast on Sunday, excellent. You guys are doing amazing stuff. 2 big thumbs up. If you all haven't caught on with the Art Condition podcast, please do go check it out. I had an amazing birthday. I had a great birthday. I took the day off. It was very cool in the morning, and Brittany and I took the dog out for a walk. It was nice. We got to be outside where there's natural lighting and there's a breeze. It was amazing. And I sat on my butt in gym shorts, and I ate cake and sushi. It was a good day. It was a good day. We watched anime. It was a good time. Unfortunately, the height of goodness on Tuesday was only matched by the depth of not goodness today. I won't go into all of it because it gets quasi-political and could have implications on my job if certain people were to watch the stream, but suffice to say, today was rough. And I'm drinking tea instead of my normal water, because you gotta make it through the day sometimes, right? But I do have something fun to share. Some of you have already seen this because you've been around and have been using it, but I would like to debut our second emote. Brought to you by all of our lovely subscribers. The Shane Opinion Hat emote. I think it looks rather opinionated, don't you? Made possible by my subscribers. Thank you all so very much. Awesome. I just saw someone that says greetings from Morocco. Hello, El Pastilla 93. Greetings from South Mississippi in the United States. I do like hats. Hey, Superb Superbia, how's it going, my friend? He's the cat with the hats. Good to hear, good to hear. Okay, so tonight we have a bit of a fun one. I had a very great birthday. It was excellent. I'm of the opinion that I'm too opinionated. I don't think that I can argue with you on that one. I'm very opinionated. I was secretly hoping that someone that knew how old that I was would send me the clip from Monty Python where King Arthur encounters Dennis the peasant, because he rides up on his horse and he goes, "Old woman!" And Dennis goes, "Man!" It's like, "What?" He goes, "I'm a man." "I'm sorry about that. I'm not old." "What?" "I'm 37. I'm not old." "Well, I did say I'm sorry about the old woman bit." I have not been to Morocco. I would love to go to Morocco. There is a list of amazing historical sites that I would love to go see in Morocco. How old was 37 in the context of the year? 37. So this is actually a great moment. Let me divert from our stated topic to kind of talk about medieval age ranges. There's the thing where everybody kind of knows that people in the medieval world had these really, really short lifespans, right? Well, it's not completely true. The average lifespan, yes, was very, very lower, much lower than it is today, right? But that is mostly because of incredibly high levels of infant mortality. It's estimated that somewhere between like a quarter and a third of all babies died within the first year or two of their life. This is partially because of malnutrition, because of lack of neonatal vitamins and basic health care. Stuff like washing your hands. It turns out that if you wash your hands when you're delivering a baby, both the mother and the baby seem to survive longer. So if you made it past like 5 years old, you're actually going to end up living to about the same length as today. It wasn't as long. People were going to die more in their high 60s, low 70s, as opposed to, mid 70s or 80s. But if you made it past the kid phase, you're probably going to be okay. So there's a fun little free history nugget for you. But yeah, infant mortality was horrible back in the day. Horrible. Hey, Lagger, how's it going? Just really not so great. So, fun free history fact for you. All right. That's why people had a gaggle of kids. Right, because you got to have spares. And I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, if you're a noble, you got to have some spares. That's why they end up having, 3 or 4 sons. Because the first one is going to inherit everything. But the second one is like the understudy. And, people died from weird stuff back then. Frederick Barbarossa, the Emperor of Germany, fell off a horse and drowned in a river because he was wearing plate armor. Weird stuff happens, But I'm a physician and a noble gentleman. My hands that just dug around in a 3-day-old cadaver are the cleanest things save the king. Right, exactly, right. I just delivered a baby after checking to see whether or not a cow was pregnant. I don't know if you all know how you check whether or not cows are pregnant, but it involves a certain orifice and a certain length of your arm. Cheers. Anyway. I do, please don't tell us. Apologies. I won't go into detail. Anybody that grew up down around in the South that has lived anywhere near ear orifice, yes. Check the ears. It's a giveaway. All right, ladies and gents. If anybody anybody have anything, any questions, any initial redemptions of stuff, anybody feeling anything particular, everybody get a chance to say hello, how your day's going, what your deepest dreams are. I've seen all creatures great and small, and now I'm remembering that too. But you're dating us, Verm. Like I'm an old soul. I'm 37 years of age, but I'm easily well into my 60s when it comes to predisposition. I'm a grouchy old coot. Anyway, so let's talk Greece and Persia and the fightings between them. So the last time that we talked about the Persians. Dun 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 dun. Thank you, Woland, and welcome to the adventure. Hope you're having a good one. Feel free to ask questions or throw out bad puns. Kyle did a redemption back at the top. Sorry, that was his sub. Okay, but thanks for keeping me honest. Just remembering a ping. Yeah. I see stuff too. Much appreciated for the extra set of eyeballs there. Okay, so where we last left off, and again, you don't have to have been here the last time. I'll give a little bit of a preface that lets you know what's going on. The Persian Empire had basically taken over lots, and they're all over here, and they're calling all sorts of people bad names and conquering people and using the stench of camels as weapons and stuff like that. Fez is the most beautiful city in the world. It is home to the oldest tanneries in the world, the oldest university in the world still in operation, Quranic schools dating from the 14th century, and incredible craftsmen. I am familiar with the city of Fez. One of the places that I would love to go visit in Morocco. I would really love to go to a lot of places. El Pastilla. Unfortunately, the world right now is very unkind to travelers, especially travelers from America, where the American passport used to be the gateway to all foreign countries. Now you get to spend 2 weeks not exploring the beauty of foreign places, but sitting in quarantine to make sure that you're not infected with COVID, because our numbers are atrocious. But I would definitely love to go to Morocco. I'd love to go just about everywhere, though. I am not partial. I love myself some travel. So, Persia's conquering everything. These are the Achaemenid Persians, by the way. This is the dynasty that's started by a guy named Cyrus the Great. Cambyses is the second of the big Persian rulers, and we're going to pick up our story with a guy named Darius. And Darius is this guy. Ain't he handsome? Hello, Darius. Now, those of you that have been around the stream might look at this picture here of Darius and go, that guy kind of looks like an Assyrian king. Because he's got that nice looking that nice looking beard, and he's got those nice curly ringlets in his hair. Those are not nipples. This is perfectly fine for Twitch terms of service. These are ringlets. The Persian people have wavy and curly hair. Reported. Dang it! Just make the day better. Anyway, so you might go, that looks really Assyrian, but you have to remember that the Persians are going to be a fusion kind of culture. And because they ended up taking over the land of Assyria and had been exposed to Assyrians, they're going to have elements of that sort of art in their own. Notice wrist wear. I'm King Darius. This is true. I'm King Darius, and I approve this message. So Darius has a bit of a problem. Oh, I should type his name here so that we know who we're talking about. Dun, 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 dun. Darius. Exposing his Assyrian on the stream. At least he's not waving around his pine cone. So Darius is going to start a war with, well, he's going to fight a war with a group of people called the Scythians. And we've spoken about the Scythians before. They were an empire of people that lived here around the coast of the Black Sea and had been involved in some of the Persian wars earlier as mercenaries. The Persians had been friendly with the Scythians, but the Scythians are not necessarily completely aligned with the Persians. It was a VeggieTales song. And the Scythians are going to kind of turn heel on the Persians, and Darius is going to go after them. But the Scythians are going to run away because they're a mounted horseback kind of people. They're going to run away, and Darius is going to be forced to chase them. Those are the guys with the red lightsabers, right? The Sith? Sith with the... Am I missing it? Darius? Or the Sith? I'm missing the joke, darling. I don't get it. My timing was off, I guess. Darius' servants. Something in Greek. Oh, Scythians. Ah, ha 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 ha. I see. It's spelled like this. They don't have the red lightsabers at this point. Lightsaber technology is actually much, much older. And we know this because at the beginning of Star Wars it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So, there we are. And you call yourself a nerd? I know. I am going to have to work pretty hard to get the nerd cred back up. That was a pretty big blunder on my part. I apologize. 50 nerd points from Shane. I like the red lightsabers more. Yeah. Red lightsabers are okay. Will you all ever forgive me? We just haven't dug them up yet. Well, they're also in a galaxy far, far away. So first we have to invent hyperspace travel. Then we have to go to their galaxy. Then we have to dig them up. He ordered his servants to remind him every day of the Athenian involvement in the Ionian revolt. Lord, remember the Athenians. We're not quite there yet. But we're getting there. I need to take a Norner. It's been a long day, fellas. I am somewhat surprised that I am composed enough to do this stream. I'm not trying to say that this is an excuse to not be nerdy, but if there were Slack and if there were a sort of hagiographic nerd bounty that I have accumulated over my life that I could use in lieu of losing my nerd card, I would appreciate that for just tonight. So Darius has to go over to Greece to chase these Scythians around. And there's this little stretch of water right here. And it looks so tiny, right? It's just so tiny. It's just like right here. It's not even a mile. It's a very small location, right? It's just this little pass of water. And this is called the Bosphorus, and is the gap between Asia over here and Europe and the Balkan Peninsula over here. And we're going to talk about this little stretch of water about 5 times tonight. Mind the gap. Oh, that's what I should have called the stream. Oh, that would have been great. That would have been great. Mind the gap. The things you think of after the fact. No. That's great. This will be. Oh, no. You totally helped. I do not I can always change the title. I actually quite like the title, Fear and Loathing in Leonidas. We'll get to that in just a bit. I think it's appropriate. So, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I'm glad that you all think it was great. I thought it was mediocre at best. I'm a little burned out, though. So, anyway, Darius, he has to get across this gap of water, and he has to march his army across. And that's a difficult task because the current in the Bosphorus is actually quite rapid, and there's constantly wind blowing, and wind coming off the Black Sea and wind coming off the Mediterranean, and there's a little bit of a microclimate in this area. So he has to build himself a bridge. And the way that he does this is by building a big line of pontoons. And he actually makes a pontoon bridge across the Bosphorus, across which he can march his infantry and ride his cavalry. Persians have cavalry. The Scythians know that they're coming, so of course they're not just going to sit there and wait. They're going to run away. So what's going to end up having to happen here is that Darius gets kind of tired of this concept of having to constantly do this pontoon bridge thing. So what he's going to do is he kind of just decides, why don't we just conquer this? This sort of whole region right here. This is the ancient region of Thrace. The Bosphorus is less than a mile. And at the shortest parts, it's only maybe a half mile. And most of this was accomplished by pulling up small ships and laying kind of boards down across the top of them. No stinky camel bridge. Yes, run away! Exactly. So Darius conquers Thrace. And this is going to be his beachhead, and he's going to, instead of having to march across, now he's going to have the opportunity to ferry his people across on boats, because he controls ports on both sides of the Bosphorus now. Were the Scythians of Iranian stock, it was kind of like a civil war. Persians originally came from the steppes of Central Asia. Persians are going to come from southern Iran. The Scythians are going to come from more north. Let me zoom out and I'll point to this stuff on the map. Nope. Zoom out. There we go. Good Google Earth. So the homeland of the Persians is around the actual old city of Parsus, which is modern-day Persepolis. And it is down in here, where the original Persians, like the ethnic Persians, are going to come from. The Scythians come from a little bit more up in this region, the kind of good, flat Central Asian steppe. But they both have Indo-European heritage that goes back to probably around the 40,000 or so year mark, 40,000 BC. That big Indo-European migration movement that ended up going over to Europe and populating most of Europe. Good question, though. So Darius has this beachhead. He's going to conquer Thrace. And the kingdom right next to Thrace is this kingdom called Macedon, which is roughly sitting right about here. And Macedon ends up becoming a vassal of the Persians because the Persians start threatening the devil out of them. And you can't really do too much in the face of Persia. They're incredibly large and they're ridiculously powerful. Mastodon! Pterodactyl! Yeah. Um, so at this point, Darius chases the Scythians around for a while. He ends up cornering them and putting them a bit to heel and beating them up. But right around here, on this coastline right here, this is what's called the Ionian coast. It's part of what is modern-day Turkey. We've talked about there being a lot of Greek colonies. And these Greek colonies had been conquered by the Persians and had kind of been suffering under Persian rule. Now, some of them were more or less okay with Persia, but some of them were still very closely tied back to their mother cities over in Greece. Cities like Athens and Corinth. And so, big crowds won. How accurate is the movie 300? It is oddly both very accurate and incredibly inaccurate. If you hang around for just a second, we'll talk about Thermopylae, and I'll even show you some pictures. It's pretty close to the comics. That it is. So these Ionian colonies in the 490s, right around 499 is when this is going to kick off. The Greeks on the mainland of Greece over here are going to start talking about how to try to get some of these colonies back, or get them sort of back in the larger Greek world and out of Persian hands. But the Persians are, of course, not going to want to get these cities up. And the Greeks are going to persuade one of the satraps of Persia over in Ionia to basically rebel against Persia and sort of ally themselves with the Greeks. Most specifically, two big cities, Eretria and Athens. Well, Eretria is an island, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. And these cities from the Greek mainland are going to send aid over to Ionia, and they're going to go, hey, forget the Persians. We're going to kick them all out. Use pontoons, get the colonies back. I see something about Speedos that I've missed. I need to roll back up and see what's going on here. It's fairly accurate that the comic was based on, not on history. Totally agree. Oop, 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 oop. The accurate parts, they all had exactly 13 abs. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, Astanis28, and welcome to the adventure. Feel free to ask questions, make bad jokes, throw some puns out, be sarcastic, just be polite. They're Speedos because they don't have any pockets, right? There we go. Thanks, KP. So, the rebels, these Greek rebels with the aid from the Greek mainland, they're going to target a city that used to be the old capital of the Lydian Empire, which was right down in here, and it was the big city called Sardis. It was the Persian satrap capital, and the Greeks are going to burn this down. And they actually confiscate some money that was supposed to be the Persians, and they run out some Persian leadership. And this is going to get the Persians' attention. Darius gets really, really ticked off at this. Because while he's trying to go off and do his thing and be a big, powerful emperor, here are these Greeks causing trouble. And what's going to end up happening is that the Persians are going to respond with what they would consider overwhelming force. They're going to send a really big navy first. And they're going to basically blockade all of the big ports that they can right here along the coastline. I missed something. How much knowledge would we have today if the Romans didn't burn down the Library of Alexandria? It's actually been burned multiple times in history, and we would probably know a lot more about lots of stuff. So it's been burned a few times, and it wasn't just the Romans, also Muslims, and even some other people back in the even further ancient periods of time. Knowledge is power. So you got to be careful with what you do with it, right? So the Persians are going to send this big navy in. They're going to blockade the coastline. This is going to prevent the Greeks in the mainland from sending more support over here to the Ionian rebels. And then Persia's going to march in this big honking army. And it is very, very large. And the Ionians are forced not only to surrender, but to re-accept Persian authority. They're going to have to take on this really, really bad treaty that effectively makes them give up most of their self-governing power. They're going to be put under like super secret double probation, if anybody gets that reference. Knowledge about what? See, that's the great thing. We don't really know what all was there. History, science, astrology, astronomy, math. Who knows? Who knows? Philosophy, medicine, sure. Alexandrian Library was like the Library of Congress of its day. Sure. It took basically anything. From what we can tell, they had tens of thousands of documents. So there is literally no telling what all we have lost forever. But it's not the only library that's ever been burned. I mean, book burning is something that's happened across the world. Just last stream, we were talking about Chinese philosophy and how the Emperor Qin Shi Huang burned a whole bunch of philosophy books over in China to try to root out some of the philosophy that didn't necessarily agree with his view of the world. So this is what happens when despotic people take over. They start destroying information that disagrees with their viewpoint. So there we go. Okie dokie. So the Ionian Revolt, unfortunately gone. It gets put down really hard. It only really lasts about 6 years. It's a big defeat for the Greeks. And Darius, as Lager mentioned earlier, Darius is not going to forget this. He holds a grudge. And he decides that he's going to try to basically get back at the Greeks. So he's going to send a big force over here to Thrace again, and he's going to start working on moving towards the mainland of Greece down in here. This is what we call the first Persian invasion. And this is in right around 492, 491, 490 BC. And he's going to change Macedon from being a vassal to being fully sort of brought in to the Persian world. So he's going to conquer Macedon. And he's going to basically try the same sort of thing that he did with Ionia. He first tries to send this big navy to try to blockade some of the south. That would be followed by a really large army. This is kind of his tactic, and it worked really well against the Ionians. So he sends this big navy down, and right around here, you see these little three kind of peninsulas. Well, right around there, there's going to be this really big storm. This is right around a mountain in Greece called Mount Athos. And the storm is going to wreck his fleet really, really badly. And the fleet is going to have to withdraw because it's in really bad shape. They lose lots of ships, lose lots of sailors, but they still have this really big ground army. So they go, okay, well, what do we do? Well, the answer is just send more troops. So they're going to kind of re-up themselves, and they're going to put together what the ancient sources say was 50,000 troops to march down and take on the Greeks. Now, the navy is going to get reconstituted, and yeah, exactly. More! See, I got that Star Wars reference. There we go. Okay, I'm back on track now. Back on track. Has the wreckage ever been recovered? I don't think so. That's a great question, though. The field of underwater archaeology is rather new. I know that they're doing a lot of stuff in that area, especially around in the Black Sea coastline. I don't know if they've ever tried to go look for the lost fleet of Darius, but that would be awesome if they did. 50,000 troops is large for the population size back then. Yeah, big crowds. That would have been a big crowd. Sorry for the bad pun. Yeah, that would have been a very, very large army. And the Persians had this gigantic population that they could pull from to make these big armies. The Greeks did not really hope to be able to match that. Maybe if they put literally every soldier-aged person in Greece together, they might have been able to put an army together that size. But this was definitely going for the overkill. There are probably many thousands of wrecks in that area. Oh yeah, absolutely. There are so many wrecks in the Aegean. The currents and the wind patterns in the Aegean are notoriously bad. So much so that sea travel almost shut down during whole months of the year, where you just didn't go sailing through there because it was just too dangerous. Even sailing close to the coastline within sight of land was just too much because you have these cross currents between all of the islands. You have these wind patterns coming off of the big Black Sea and the mountain ranges that are up in the Balkans. And it's a dangerous place to try to sail in. So what are you going to do? Well, the naval forces are going to pick up some of the troops, and they're going to try this naval invasion now. And they're going to hit around Eritrea, and they're going to start moving towards Marathon. Now, you probably know this story, or you might have heard of this story. Let me put it in context for you. So the city of Marathon is just north of Athens. It's about how far a marathon is from Athens, north. Just a few miles, 26 or and a little bit, right? So when the Persians are marching south, a messenger from Marathon decides that he needs to get to Athens to warn them. So he books it all the way south, runs the entire distance, delivers the message, and then, according to the story, falls down dead. Which is what would exactly happen to me if I tried to run a marathon. What you going to do when they come for you, right? They have found old Mycenaean ships intact in the seas of the Levantine. Pretty confident Darius' fleet exists. Yeah, I'm sure it's still there. There's probably still wreckage there. And the water is pretty deep right there. So there's not a lot of oxygen at the bottom, which means that the wood would probably be fairly preserved. Surface scans suggest someone wanted to do it in 2006. You'd fall dead because of your dedication to historical accuracy. I have run the marathon. I must now properly die. Herk! I might. What is this? Naruto Temu to EDU PWS homepage. What do we got going here? Persian War Shipwreck Survey. Well, there we go. Look at that. Somebody has been doing it. Thanks, Vern. That's a great link. Would you, for posterity's sake, would you throw that in the Discord for me? Or would somebody throw that in the Discord for me? I can't stop reading or stop to read it right now, but I would love to look over that. Thanks. That was a great find. And for those of you that are new, go join the Discord. We talk about stuff. I share history news. We post memes and make nerdy references about things all the time. So, anyway, I've been to Marathon, so I get to put on the adventure hat. For those of you that might be new to the channel, this is... Yeet that in the Discord. This is the adventure hat. It is what I wear when I go out to explore ancient things, and it has been with me on multiple continents and lots of countries. I love it with a love that I should not possess for inanimate objects. And when I've been a place that I can talk about in history, I wear the adventure hat. So let's look at pictures from Marathon. That's not images. That was the introduction screen. And I have problems with letters that look the same. So if you go to Marathon today, you can find this great little statue. You see an Athenian soldier here. He is holding his hand up in the, hey, you can't come this way mode. Because when Athenians hear the news that Persia is marching their way, the Athenians put together a coalition of several other big cities in the region. They have roughly 10,000 troops. They're going to put themselves under the control of an Athenian general called Miltiades, and they're going to go up to Marathon, and they're going to beat the Persians. Talk to the hand. Now, here's the crazy thing about it. Athenians send word down to Sparta, and they go, hey, there are bad people coming. You should send help. And the Spartans go, no thanks. And they go, we're having a holiday right now, and the signs point to it being bad juju if we send troops in the middle of holiday, so we're not going to help you. Good luck. Thoughts and prayers. This is like, Athenians call for aid, and Spartans drink more. We're in the middle of a barbecue. Right. Sorry, folks, bar's closed. Moose up front, should have told you. Yeah, so there's this great statue at Marathon. And also at Marathon, there is, well, if I could get to the photo here. This tumulus. Now, there are some Athenians that die, but they win the battle. And the Athenians honor their dead by burying them in this hill, which you can still go see. And if you want to pay the astronomical price, you can actually walk inside the boundary and go take a picture or two it up close. But if you're cheap and tall, like I am, well, you just stand up over the top of the fence and take a photo of it. Where was Sparta when Athens called for aid? I don't know. Anyway, so the Persians are thwarted by a much smaller Greek force, and this really kind of sets Darius's hackles up. He didn't like the Athenians already, but this is like real bad. And he decides that he's going to get them back, so he starts preparing this invasion force, but then he dies. And you go, well, okay, that sucks. You know, that's what happens when you get old. You've been to this tomb. It was one of the most thrilling, emotionally charged moments of your life. It's a cool place, no joke. I wasn't interested in paying the entrance fee. It seemed a bit much. I understood as I spent more time in Greece that it wasn't actually that bad. But it's a cool place. I like it. Were I to take a group of students back there, we would totally go in. Buried heroes inside. Indeed, these are some of these Athenian people that died in this battle sort of become larger than life heroes, very similar to the Spartans that die later on, which we're getting to. So Darius dies, and then his son takes over. And you go, who's his son? Well, this guy. If you haven't seen 300, you probably don't know who this is. And that's okay. It's not really what he looked like. I had an opportunity to show a guy in a golden Speedo, and I wasn't going to pass that up, right? This is actually what Xerxes looked like. A wise king sitting on his throne with his cup and his staff. So this is Xerxes, who is the son of Darius, who takes over. Can't ever pass up a golden Speedo. He doesn't have pockets. That bulges an apple. Yeah, clearly a great likeness, an easy likeness here. So Xerxes becomes the king of the Persian Empire, and he's going to carry his dad's grudge really heavy. Xerxes is actually super ticked off that the Greeks defied his father. He had a bit of a father complex. And you just can't insult dad. If you insult dad and you survive the first invasion, I'm going to come back again with a bigger force and try to kill your leaders. Or is that what happened in Iraq? Anyway, so Xerxes has got a grudge against the Greeks too. And Shane unfortunately does not ever pass up Golden Speedo. You have PTSD. So while Xerxes is sort of coalescing his leadership over in Persia, the Greeks are going to try to prepare because they know that the Persians are coming back. And Miltiades, the guy that had led the people of Greece against the Persians, is going to die. And there's going to be this really big rivalry inside of Athens over how best to prepare for the next invasion. And there are two people, one of them's name is Aristides, and one of them's name is Themistocles. And these guys get in really big arguments. Aristides says the way to beat the Persians is with land power, because they had beaten the Persians with the land power at Marathon. He's wearing a Chewbacca onesie. How many channel points is a Golden Speedo redemption? 0. No, there will never be one of those. So Aristides says, we got to have a big land power. Themistocles goes, no. You got to do it with the navy. The reason they didn't survive the attack is because their navy wrecked and they had a smaller navy. That's the only reason why we were able to fight against them and win with the land, is because their navy was out. Look what the navy did over in Ionia. And this gets to the point where Aristides and Themistocles go basically to political battle with themselves. And Themistocles gets Aristides kicked out of the city. That's right. He gets ostracized. Spoilers, Themistocles was right. So there was actually a law in Athens where you would get ostracized, which means you got kicked out of the city. So Aristides gets kicked out of the city, and Themistocles then, of course, wins, and he's like, let's build ourselves a navy. Big old navy. Well, guess what? Here comes Xerxes again. Well, Xerxes has to go through the same problem, because when Darius got beaten, well, the Greeks and the Thracians and the Macedonians tried to kind of re-exert some independence here, so the good old beachhead that was over in Thrace is not quite so secure anymore. So Xerxes has to try to recross the Bosphorus again. The first time doesn't really go so great. He's trying to set up this pontoon bridge, and it just it doesn't work. The current's doing some stuff, and this exactly sounds like Seattle trying to figure out what to do with the viaduct. Yeah, so he tries to set up the pontoon bridge the first time, and they're like stretching out the boats and trying to do all this stuff, and the wind keeps blowing against them, and the current keeps blowing against them, and it just doesn't work. And Xerxes gets so ticked off at the Bosphorus. Great story from the primary sources here. He has his torturers and his jailer people, basically the big punishment dealers, go down into the water of the Bosphorus and whip it. Like, you stupid piece of water, I am Xerxes the God King, you will do what I tell you to do. Pretty great moment in history there. One of my favorite moments, where Xerxes gets so mad at the water that he tries to beat it into submission. Yeah. But he is bringing with him a really big... Yeah, he got mad at water. Yeah. God King yells at water instead of old man yells at... Did it work? Yes, it did work. They built 2 pontoon bridges. Now, if we read the ancient sources, Herodotus claims that Xerxes had an army of 2.5 million troops. Now, let's just be honest. 2.5 million people in an ancient army, that's no. It's just completely not feasible. Now, it was big. Clearly, it was a large army. Most historians today that have actually tried to work out how big of an army Persia could have put together place the invasion between army, support staff, cavalry, and navy somewhere around 200,000. Now, let me be clear. 200,000 is still an absolutely enormous military for this period of time. It would have been one of the largest army invasions that had potentially ever existed on the face of the earth. And this was Xerxes really going, it's time to beat up the Greeks. The scribes were whipped to double the numbers. Count how many men I have. Lord, you have 5,000. You had 10,000. Yeah. So you've got this big navy. You've got this huge land army. And they start coming in. And this is where we get Leonidas. Leonidas is the king of Sparta at the time. He hears of the big invasion, and he goes, okay, it's time to stop the Persians. Well, the Athenians had put all of their money into the navy. So what is Leonidas to do? Well, he's got to put together a land army. And he and famously 300 Spartans team up with several thousand other Greek soldiers. So let's be clear here. It wasn't just 300 guys. The land army was 20,000. The navy, ? The Persians had more than 700 ships. Yeah, I mean, it was really honking big. It was a gigantic invasion. It wasn't 2.5 million people. But yeah, somewhere around 200,000 people. That's huge. So, time to go fight, right? Well, the Greeks were pretty clearly outnumbered. And the Persians are going to be marching pretty steadily south. They're going to take Thrace pretty quick, Macedon pretty quick, and they're going to get down to the Greek sort of, that's the wrong button. Where am I at? Boom, there we go. The Greek territory pretty fast. This is what happens when you have a gigantic military. So, right around in here, there is a little place called the Hot Gates. And in Greece, it's called Thermopylae. And I get to put the adventure hat back on, because I've been there. Woo! So, I would like to actually zoom in here and use Google Earth for part of this discussion, because I can show you pictures from the ground, and I will in just a minute, but it doesn't really make the same sense unless you can see it from the space. So what you can see here is if we are marching along the coastline so that we can be supported by our navy, there is a point right here where the mountain range gets really close to the sea. And right around here, the Greeks are going to use the natural terrain as a way to stall the Persians. This was never necessarily meant to be some sort of perpetual victory. This was mostly a recognized kind of delaying tactic, quasi-suicide mission. So, as you know, if you've seen 300, the Persians are going to meet the Greeks at Thermopylae. There's going to be a 3-day battle, and things don't go so great for the Greeks. So this today is the monument that is at Thermopylae. Really cool. The big soldier up here, Leonidas, on the walls here you can see the relief of the battle. You can see the Greeks and the Persians going at each other. You can see the good hoplite formations, guys with the good spears and the good stabbing swords and the nice big shields fighting the Persian guys. Pretty cool place. I like it a lot. And this is going to be a big battle because the Greeks are going to lose, but it gives the rest of the Greeks time to organize a response. And there are going to be sort of a series of battles that takes place after this. One of them is at a place called Plataea. And Plataea is one of the big response battles where the Greeks sort of blunt the invasion of the Persians. And I get to show you a picture of the battlefield because I've been there too. So this is this is Thermopylae. This is Plataea. You can see these nice big open fields. I'm actually standing on the ancient city right here. If you look closely, you can see the little... Oh, I didn't even notice that was in the frame. This little guy right here was the car that Mac in a lab coat and I had rented. It's a little diesel standard with a really bad clutch. It turned out not to be the worst car ever. But you can see these nice big open plains. There you go. Big honkin' open space. Really great for battle. But of course, you know, you got to fight where you got to fight. And the Persians are going to get the upper hand a little bit. The Greeks are going to be able to fight back. And then comes the big naval battle. Because, you know, you got to have the naval battle too. It was really not as bad as the car as I had feared. And the site was pretty cool too. Yeah. Plataea was a cool place. Neat little city. I would have liked to have spent more time there. It's a very cool place. You can get up on top of the mound. It's uncontrolled. You can still see lots of outlines of the buildings and stuff. Good stuff. How similar would the terrain be at the time? Pretty close. This area of Greece has traditionally been farmland and has been traditional farmland for thousands of years. This is sort of the... Well, I can show you the region. So this kind of region right around in here has been on the border between what was Athenian-controlled territory and territory controlled by the city of Thebes. But both sides really wanted to hold on to it because of the amount of good farmland that was there. You always got to have enough food to feed your people. That's a good question. Pretty similar, though. Clearly, the modern roads and power lines and stuff are different, but ancient people would have looked a lot similar to that. If you had looked out, you know, in the 480s BC when this stuff was going down, you could have seen a site not too different than that. So there's Thermopylae, there's Plataea. The Greeks are putting up a really good fight. They're blunting the edge of this attack, and here comes the big old-fashioned naval battle. Because, hey, Lafabamba, how's it going? Welcome. Xerxes is going to get a little antsy because the war's not going as easily as he expected. He thought he could just kind of roll in, beat up the Greeks, and they would roll over and die. But it doesn't really go so great. And the Greek fleet of the Corinthians and the Athenians are going to sort of start trying to block the Persian fleet. The Persians don't really understand the way to navigate through all these little islands and inlets and stuff. So the Greek fleet is being very intelligent and blocking passageways and attacking them and sort of fading away. And Themistocles, Athenian general and admiral, is going to take a bit of a gamble. Spartan Navy was with him too. Yeah. I mean, most of the Greek Navy was working in conjunction at this point. Spartan's Navy was on the small side compared to bigger places like Corinth or Athens. Spartans were much more big on the land, beat you up kind of side. But they were there too. Fair enough. So there's a gamble. Themistocles, naval captain, decides that what they're going to do is they're going to try to lure the Persian fleet into these little narrow straits of water. And this is going to take place right off the coast of a city called Salamis. And to do this, the Greeks are basically going to have to risk a lot of their own ships. And they're going to have to kind of put themselves on the line. And this is a big gamble because if you sort of bunch up the Persian fleet and then you kind of go right at them, you're either going to really have a big effect or you're going to die. So this is a pretty big risk. But it turns out in the favor of the Greeks. They bunch up the Persian fleet. They attack basically right into the middle of it. The Persian fleet tries to get away from the Greeks to give themselves enough room to respond, and the Persian ships start running into each other and clogging up stuff, and because they're in this little narrow strait of water, a lot of them founder up against the shoals and break open their hulls or run aground, and the Persian fleet ends up having much disproportionately bad outcome here. Remember, naval battles at the time were ram battles. Yeah, pretty much. I would plow my ship into your ship, and then we would fight on the decks. But the Persians can't get out of the way of the Greeks because they're all, crammed in this little narrow stretch of water. And this is a pretty big blow. Ship plowing. There we go. If you can't move, you can't attack. Exactly. And the Persian fleet has a lot of damage here. And Xerxes is ticked. His army has been not necessarily unsuccessful, but definitely not as successful as he hoped. And now his naval support has been pretty severely curtailed. And Xerxes runs away. He gets worried that he is going to get cut off in Greece and he won't be able to get back to Persia. So he picks one of his generals, this guy named Mardonius, and goes, you're in charge, I'm going to go home and get supplies. And he books it back to Persia. And this is super humiliating. Of course, he plays it up like, oh, I'm coming back and I'm going to bring all these soldiers with me and we'll get them next time. And this is just round one, but he's running away. Bravely ran away. Fearless brave Sir Xerxes. Exactly. Xerxes runs away. And at the second big battle at Plataea, the Battle of Plataea in 479, the Greeks are going to catch Mardonius and defeat the army that he left behind. And the army that beats him up at Plataea this time is Pan-Hellenic. There are people from all of the different cities, all of the big cities in Greece. There's evidence of support from some Thracians and Macedonians. This is a kind of a unified effort here to sort of punch the bad guy out. And this is going to be kind of a tipping point moment. Yeah, imagine if he lost 100% of his army in Greece. He played it smart and took the remaining. He did, but let's not pretend that he wasn't running away. Because he was, and he was so hot about it. He was so mad. It's not a tactical retreat if I never died, if I've never been in battle, right? In search of followers, primes, and views, come to bigfollows.com. I don't think I need to. I have a group of people that love me, or at least tolerate me, so I think I'll just stick with the good old-fashioned natural growth pattern here. But thank you so much for your kind offer, Mr. Bot. If you had a heart, I hope that this greeting warmed it. May it cause some extra electrons to flow through your logic circuits. We definitely tolerate you. I appreciate the tolerance. Okay, so things are looking up. We beat the Persians. They had to kind of run away. And here comes another big battle. Now, over here in Ionia, at a place called Mycala, this is right about here. That's not showing up the right way because I'm doing that thing again where it looks one way on my screen, but it doesn't look that way on your screen. Right around here. Mycala, big city, Greek colony, part of the original Ionian revolt, and is going to be the target of an invasion because the Greeks are going to decide, hey, we have the Persians on the ropes. Maybe we could take it to them. And give them the old 1-2. The bot should at least give a follow before they post. That would be more polite, wouldn't it? Mycala Light. Less calories. What about Mycala Ultra? I don't know what any of these beers taste like. Anyway, actually, the Turkish beer from that area is called Ephes. Is brewed in the modern-day city of Ephesus. I've not had any of it, but Brittany has. I brought her some back from Turkey. So, dear, if you would like to give a review of Ephes beer, if you can remember what it was like, feel free to do so. So the Greeks are going to invade here. The Allied fleet is going to launch an attack against the Persian navy that's in the port. They're going to land. They're going to sort of rally the Ionians. And the Ionians are going to go, hey, we're back. Let's do the rebellion thing again. And they're going to burn a lot of the Persian ships. They're going to kill a whole bunch of Persians that are trying to get back to sort of the larger Persian territory. And this is all going to come to a head at a city called Sestos, where Sestos was another one of these Persian kind of satrap cities, regional capital city. They sponsored FGC. Didn't know that. So the Greeks are going to catch the Persian satrap at Sestos. And, well, guess what? They decide not to let this guy go. There's a bit of a kerfuffle, and the Persian satrap ends up crucified. Which is a way to send a message, sure. It's a bit of a strong message, sure. But when they take Sestos, they also find, a little bit later, the remains and the materials to make the pontoon bridge. So, guess what they destroy? Well, I mean, they don't like destroy it. They just kind of confiscate it. So, next time the Persians show up and they start looking to build the pontoon bridge, it's not there. Because the Greeks took it. And then quickly ran away. They didn't actually run away. They decided to keep on going. Are we talking about the Athenian hegemony area? We're not quite to the Delian League. We're almost to the Delian League. We're talking about Mycala, which is in 479. The battle at Cyprus, which is in 478. The Delian League doesn't start till 477. But we're getting pretty close to that. So the Greeks are like, hey. We beat them in Greece. We beat them in Turkey. Let's keep going. And so they go over here to Cyprus. Now, Cyprus is a good island to have because it's got good ports. And it's particularly strategically located. You want to invade southern Anatolia? You can do it from Cyprus. You want to invade Syria? You can do it from Cyprus. You want to invade the Levant? You can do it from Cyprus. You want to blockade things going to Egypt? You can do that from Cyprus. How good is Cyprus? Ask Britain in World War I. Or even before World War I when they took it from the Ottomans. So Cyprus is a big deal. It wasn't called Turkey back then. It was Asia Minor. Yeah, I know. And Lydia and all of the great little Boeotia. No, that was in Greece. I'm saying all my funny words now. Phrygia. And, yeah, I know. Modern day people are in Turkey. City-states. A little bit bigger than city-states. Most of Asia Minor was in smaller kingdoms that were being dominated by the Persians as satrapies. But nitpicking. So, at this point, the Spartans kind of go, we won. Persians aren't coming back. We're going to go back home. We're gonna go chill. We're gonna go back and do our thing. Also, they had some problems with the slaves that ran their fields. These people called the Helots. They were getting a little antsy. So we're done beating up the Persians. We might need to go back home and beat up the slaves. You guys have this now. The Persians, they're done. Yeah. Well, the Athenians see this as a great opportunity. Because with Sparta kind of taking a back seat, the Athenians are like, okay, now is our turn. We're going to be the guys. And the Athenians joined something called the Delian League. Don't you believe it? Delian League. This is in 477. Originally, this was a smaller group of city-states, and Athens joined it, but Athens then, of course, immediately bullies everybody into taking over. And the Athenians are going to put together a sort of Avengers group of city-states in Greece. And if you want to join the league, you've got some options. Option number one, you can pay a tax. You can give money to the Delian League, aka Athens, and they will use that for defense, right? Hey there, Delian. It needs more syllables, but that would have been, I would have entertained that. Protection money. It's like protection money, but it's a lot more like the donations that each individual NATO country pays to NATO. It's supposed to go into a common fund that's used to defend everybody. Or, if you wanted to, you could send soldiers. And there's going to be sort of a Delian League central army that's under the command of this Greek dude named Cimon. Oh man, I have a picture of Themistocles and I forgot to show it. Let's go look at Themistocles real quick. I was supposed to show this while I was talking about the Battle of Salamis, but I got a little excited about it. Themistocles! He's a handsome gentleman. Boom! There we are. Anyway, so Themistocles, cool guy. Great naval captain, gambler, but winner. So this guy named Cimon is going to be in charge of... I haven't actually seen Rise of an Empire. I watched the trailers and my horrible sense was going off. I was like, there's something horrible here. I'm glad that I get responded with horrible movie. It's terrible. Okay. I'm glad then that I did not watch it. But it's about Themistocles. Oh, okay, cool. I knew that it had to be because I knew that there were lots of boats. So, there we are. And the naval battles at Salamis. Yeah, cool. I might watch it just as a make fun of it movie. Like when I'm in a better mood. Find something like, I feel like ragging on a movie. Like Mystery Science Theater 3000 it with... Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should watch bad history movies on Discord and just rag on them. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. It's fun, just horribly inaccurate. Oh, well, there we go. So, the Delian League, big stuff. Here we go. Chimon's in charge, and he decides we need to find all of the little places where the Persians are still in charge, and we need to root those out. So the Persians had built these really big garrisons all over the place. Have you watched The Gladiator? I love Gladiator. You're down for IRL, MST through K? Maybe it would be History Science Theater or Mystery History I can't say that. Mystery History Theater 3000. Have I watched the History Buff channels on YouTube? I have not watched that, Moose. I might need to go give it a look, though. Is it funny? Do they do what I was just talking about, like make fun of history movies? Would you do me a favor and throw that in the Discord for me? I had this problem where I go, oh, I should click on that. And I can't open too many tabs on my laptop because my computer would crash. Somebody would drop that in the Discord for me. I'll go pick it up later on. But thanks for the recommendation. And I do go look at this stuff, by the way. I don't just say, hey, I'll give that a look. I really do. I like history stuff. Anyway, so where are the weird little Persians left? Where are their big garrisons at? Well, it turns out that there's some in Thrace. and there are two big garrisons up there, and there are a lot of people in Thrace that had sort of converted to the Persian mindset. Now, these were people, of course, that the Persians had effectively bribed onto their side. And Caimon goes, well, we got to get rid of those Thracian things. You're in literally 100 discords. Oh, goodness. Sorry. I am here. Or Kyle just threw it. There we go. So there are two of these, Dariskos and Ion. Caimon goes and takes them out. The Persian sympathizers in Thrace all get run out. Lots of little islands in the Aegean were turned into basically fortification islands. So there are battles at Skyros and Charistos and Naxos. Some of these islands in the Aegean that the Persians had bases on. Basically what Caimon is trying to do here is find every little place that the Persians are and sort of systematically scrub them out. So ethnically, who are these people in Asia Minor? That is a long answered question. The short version is that a lot of them were Indo-Europeans. Some of them were Indo-Iranians. Some of them were Semitic. And some of them were actually transplanted Greeks that had been brought over there during the colonization. So there you go. It's a lot more complicated and detailed than that. But that's just kind of an overview. And welcome, Modovic. Hope you're having a good one. So, find all the Persians. Scrub them out. We need to make sure that we're not leaving bad guys behind our lines. You know, you got to secure the beachheads and get rid of all the bad guys. We got to get over to Asia Minor, too. So, you clean up Thrace, get rid of all the bad guys up here. You get rid of all the bad guys on the islands here in the Aegean. Now, moving over here. There's a big naval battle at a place called Eurymedon. And it starts off as a naval battle, but the Greeks at the Delian League actually rout the Persian navy, and the Persian navy sails into the harbor and starts unloading guys. So the Greeks just kind of chase them in and unload all of their guys. And they catch the Persians in this weird state of disarray, and they catch 200 Persian ships and burn all of them. And this is a really big blow to the Persians because they're kind of like they're losing stuff over, and the Persians are just like they're losing these cities in Thrace and losing these cities in the islands of the Aegean. Now they're losing cities in Asia Minor, and it's kind of starting to wear on Xerxes. They're mostly Greeks, Phrygians, and Luvians. Indo-Iranian, yeah. Okay, I'll agree with that. So when the Delian League shows up and they're sort of liberating these towns in Asia Minor, Atlantis theories, I don't have a problem with there being a city that was pretty advanced that got blown up or lost underwater. There was a really big sea level rise at the end of the Younger Dryas period that put a whole bunch of land that used to be solid land underwater and flooded a whole bunch of places that probably had a more sophisticated level of technology than the people at the time did. So the basis of the Atlantis theory, in my opinion, is that there were original probably villages or coastline cities, maybe city. I don't even know if cities is the right word. Maybe towns, centers of habitation. How about that? That were swallowed up by water. A lot of the islands in the Aegean or in the Mediterranean overall used to be a lot bigger. Some of them are now completely underwater. I don't have a problem with a lot of people losing technology under the water and it taking a long time for that to be replaced. Now, do I think Atlantis, like, spaceships and laser beams and advanced geocalculus kind of stuff existed? No, not really. But I'm actually pretty okay with there being some form of more advanced civilization that got wiped out by a really big flood. And I think we have a pretty big amount of evidence for that in places like Göbekli Tepe, places like Asia Minor, and into the Caucasus Mountains, where we're discovering stuff that's like older than we thought it could ever be. So that would actually be a really great potential viewer request stream. Is what do I think about Atlantis? That would be interesting. So the Delian League gets over to Ionia. They start liberating these cities in Asia Minor, and a lot of these cities start joining the Delian League. This is kind of like, hey, you freed us. Can we help you guys out? We want to go help out the rest of the guys. And they get a bunch of boost. Their numbers go up, their armies go up, their navy goes up. And this is really humiliating to Xerxes. Now, Xerxes is having his own trouble back at home. There's actually a lot of internal Persian politics that are sort of getting the best of him. And Xerxes and his oldest son, who's named Darius, go figure, remember dad issues, are going to get killed by Xerxes' bodyguard. And the younger kid, Artaxerxes, is going to take over. Now, this is partially to do with the humiliation from Greece, but again, there are other existing issues inside of the Persian world that are causing the emperor to be not so popular. So this is Artaxerxes. Looks like his dad. There we go. Good old-fashioned beard, wrist wear. That might be a pine cone. I don't know. I don't think it's a pine cone. Artaxerxes. Oh, and I also have this picture here. Boom! That's Cimon, the guy that was the leader of the Delian League. Strong jawline. Nice helmet. Cimon. There we are. Okay, so we get a new king of Persia, Artaxerxes. He shows up, and check this out. I can just go Arta. Now, you would think at this point that the Persians might consider kind of cutting their losses. But with this trouble at home, when Xerxes and the crown prince get killed, and there's clearly lots of internal issue, and the Greeks are putting a pretty big stain on the record, other people just start piling on. So we're going to have more rebellions. But this time it comes from a different area. Down here in Egypt. So the Persians were in control of Egypt at that time, and had been since the Persian king Cambyses. But the Egyptians did not care for the Persians and wanted to be independent. And when the leadership of Egypt gets taken over by this particular there's a family of Libyan nobility that come over with a big army and take over a lot of the control of Egypt. They go, hey, Delian League, you guys seem to be having a pretty good go of rebelling against Persia. Would you like to come to Egypt and help a brother out? And the Delian League goes, I don't know about that. Iranian civilization, such a great one, especially state organization. Absolutely. The satrapy system and the post office and the taxation stuff and the way that they chose their internal leaders, all incredible. Which is why Alexander the Great kind of copied and pasted it with a little bit of a Hellenistic twist. Do you play Medieval Total War 2? I have not played that one. I have played Total War games, but I have not played Medieval Total War 2. I haven't played Medieval Total War 1 either. I've played Rome 1 and Rome 2, and then I played the Shogun Total War, the Japanese Total War. I'm a big fan of Japan. in 2 years when we get to Japan, I'm going to be a nerd. Rome 2 is worth it. Love Rome 2. It was really good. I like it quite a bit. I have one for free that either Epic gave me for free. I can't remember who gave it to me for. Maybe is it Greek Total War? Weeb. I'm not a weeb. I actually appreciate the culture. I don't sleep with a waifu pillow. Why 2 years? It's probably going to take that long for us to get there chronologically speaking. I'm only doing one stream on Thursdays where we've been going now for, oh my gosh, we've been going for almost 6 months now. And we're not even to the AD time period. And we might get an early Japan stream, maybe like March next year or something like that. So we're trying to go through things chronologically to put everything in context. So we're sort of in a phase or a block right now that's covering about 500 BC to about 200 BC. So the Egyptians go, hey, come down here and help us. And the Greeks, some of them go, we don't need to get down in Egypt and get into their trouble. They have their own problems. We're doing okay up here. But some of them are like, but we're already kind of right here. We're already kind of in the area. We've got Cyprus. Remember, there's a big Athenian fleet kind of sitting on Cyprus, and it's just like right there. We could go help out the Egyptians. Imagine how great that would be if the Egyptians and the Greeks could team up against the Persians. We would be able to whip them. And they're like, okay, well, maybe let's just try to take it slow. Let's go down. Let's see what's going on. And they get down there, and they win a victory. They have a really big victory kind of right off the bat. And the Delian League is like, it's time to go, boys. And this is not good. The Persians are going to sort of pull their last trump card. They have a leader who's got one of the greatest names in the ancient world. Megabyzes. Or Megabyzes, as some people call him. It's Megabyzes, but anyway, this is who they're going to send. So this is kind of like calling in the big guns. I can't imagine how awesome your WW2 streams are going to be. That's a long time. Yeah, Megabyte. But not like Megabyte from Reboot. This guy's actually competent and gets stuff done. So Megabyzes is going to bring the Persian army kind of back into order. And he's going to catch the Athenians at Memphis, which is sort of at the right here at the end of the delta in Egypt, right here. Boom, caught him. This is not so great for the Athenian navy, because if you can't use the Nile to float your ships around, what's going to happen to all your land soldiers, all your people marching around? Well, Megabyzes knows this, and that's why he stopped you at Memphis, because he knew that he needed to take that point, because it's a river. It only goes two ways, and if you hold the sort of strongest point at the top, they can't get in and they can't get out. And this is not going to be good for the Athenians. There's another big battle between Megabyzes' land forces and the Athenian army at a place called Prosopitis. And it doesn't go great. The entire Athenian army gets captured. And on the way to try to escape, they run right into a Persian ambush. So effectively, the entire Athenian army is either captured or killed. And Megabyzes also knows what's going on, because the Greeks had managed to get a couple of messages out, and there was a support fleet coming from the Delian League to kind of relieve the Athenians. But Megabyzes knows that's coming. and he knows when they're going to show up and where they're going to show up. So guess what? He ambushes that fleet, and he destroys the whole fleet. This is bad. And there's not very much left. Now, I mean, well, there's a fairly sizable force left, but compared to what the Delian League had, they are down dramatically. And what's going to happen is that Kaimon sort of has to make a decision, and he bundles up whatever he can, and he puts together this last kind of fleet that's got 200 ships in it, and he goes to fight the Persians to try to kind of dislodge them so that they can, get supplies moving again and get rid of Megabazes, and it just doesn't work. The Persians basically have to make a tactical move kind of to the side. The Greeks are going to be able to kind of skirt free. They take some heavy losses, and in this battle in 451, Kamen dies. And at that point, the Delian League is sort of in a tizzy. They had lost this whole army. They had lost a lot of their navy. They had then lost their their resupply fleet, and they had lost their fabled leader, Kaimon. And they have to run away. And they retreat back to Cyprus, but the Persians are chasing them like right on their heels. And the Greeks are able to kind of play this hit and run game around Cyprus and then around some of the port cities in Asia Minor. And they get bottled up. There's one more big battle at 450, and the Greeks take really heavy losses and manage to kind of sneak out. And at that point, the Delian League and the Persians both realize that it would be best for everybody if they just stopped fighting each other. And the two groups are going to meet together. They're going to call for an official cessation of hostilities. The Greeks are going to end up having to give back a lot of the territory that they had liberated. A lot of the cities that were over here in Asia Minor are going to go back to being Persian satrapies. The threat of Persia is not gone, and the Greeks are going to have to kind of go back home and figure out where exactly they went wrong. So it's a tough move, right? Both sides have been bloodied. Both sides didn't come out of this looking very well at all. It's a tough fight, and there's not necessarily what you might call an admiration between the two groups, but there's definitely a sort of a mutual recognition that the Persians are still a very large threat. They have not gone away. But the Persians recognize that the Greeks, when they have their act together, are pretty serious foes. And they're aided by their geography and their skill of battle and tactics. The Persians can't just overwhelm them with superior numbers. And what's going to end up happening is that this cessation of hostilities between these two groups is going to sort of move away from what you might call a hot war into much more of what you could consider a cold war. Because the next phase of Greek history is a gigantic civil war. And right in the middle of it is Persia, poking at one side and then poking at the other side, and ultimately just trying to make sure that neither side comes out looking great. But that's the story for another stream. That's the Peloponnesian Wars, which are coming not too far away. So, that's the Greco-Persian Wars. Some of my favorite periods of time in history. I hope you had a good one. At this point, do we have any questions, anybody? Anything stick out? Megabazes. Oh. Right? Megabyte was competent. He had incompetent minions. Greco-Persians. Irrelevant question. As long as it's not irrespectful. So, for those of you that are new, maybe just followed, maybe haven't been around in a while, seen some new faces, seen some old friends that are back, below your chat window, there's a little picture of the adventure hat, and you are currently collecting adventure points just for hanging out. And you can do lots of stuff with those. You can... you can click on that and it'll tell you all the fun little things that we can do. Random history facts and capital cities and ranking stuff and yada, yada, yada. I was talking about it with some Irish friends. We're the Picts of Scotland Celts. Okay, so it depends on how you define Celt. And it also depends on what period of time you're asking. If you're talking about the Picts, that would have been the really bad foes of people like the Romans in the late 200s and early 300s. Yeah, the Roman time Picts. Those people were, now be careful, they were ethnically Celtic because those people were pretty much left over from the initial Celtic migration into the area. This was prior to the various periods of time when either Normans from France or Danes from Denmark or various Viking groups showed up in England. This is before the sort of modern concept of a Pict became sort of more synonymous with the Scottish Highland people that fought against the English back during the Wars of Unification. So ethnically, yes. The language that they spoke was similar to the Celtic language that's still used. They were, the Welsh and the Irish at that point in time were a little bit ethnically different, but they had similar ethnic backgrounds. Unrelated, but will the history of Al-Andalus be... Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the Andalusians. Absolutely. It's going to be a little while. So for those of you that are new, let me sort of give you a little bit of a rundown. The show is Adventures for History. Adventures in History. We talk about history. And the sort of the premise of our Thursday night show is to talk about history in order. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't have a good teaching, they don't have a good basis of, is putting things in chronological order. We talk about all these stories of people like Leonidas and Xerxes, or the Picts, and the Reconquista or Andalusia, the fight against the Muslims to retake Spain, and we talk about all of these things, but unless you live in the country or know a little bit about history, it's hard sometimes for people to put all this stuff in order. So on Thursday nights, we do things in order. And like I said, we're moving through the BC period of time. We're in a phase where we're talking about stuff that went down between about 500 BC and about 200 BC. But every other Tuesday, or as I can squeeze them in if I have the free time, we do viewer request shows where I do whatever the viewers want to see. And Graythar, are you still in the room? In order, just how I like to assemble my Borgor. Graythar might be checked out, and that's fine. I had a question. Oh, there we are. I sent you a message on Discord, but I can ask you here. Will you be around next Tuesday night? Dun 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 dun. Thank you, Mever Barzini, and welcome to the adventure. Ancient Celts is such a weirdly contested group. Dun 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 da, da, da. Thank you, Vital. And welcome to the adventure to you as well. Historians say the Celts weren't any kind of well-defined thing, and others who adamantly disagree. Well, Motivic, if you would like, you can go back in the VODs, if you're one for watching VODs. We actually did a discussion on the ancient Celts and their culture and mythology. So, yeah, you noticed in reply just before the stream started, sadly no, morning shift for next week onwards. Okay, do me a favor, if you would, please. Send me a message on Discord, or you could just tell me now, it doesn't really matter. Like windows of time during the day where you would be free, and we might do a special like Saturday episode or you know, earlier in the evening episode. The Celts were a defined group. They probably weren't completely different Celts throughout Europe. Linguistic terms of the related. Yeah. They were definitely a tribal group of people that had regional variances. Dun, 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 dun. Obama Llama Yo Mama. Thanks for the follow. And welcome to the adventure. Did I miss something? Oh! They did give the follow. What did I miss? I missed the bad stuff. What was the bad stuff? You gotta let me see the bad stuff. I'm just joking. Was it I missed that whole thing. I'm sitting here talking to people. Oh, it was not a good one. Okay, well, there we are. You know you're getting plus points in the pro streamer category when you start getting spammers and trolls. It wasn't spam. Ooh. Well, that's interesting. Anyway, so anybody want to do adventure point stuff? There's lots of things down there. I can't handle the truth. Sometimes I can't. I don't know if I could handle more truth right now. I've had a lot of truth today, and it's kind of hurt my feelings. Shane is a pro streamer now. No. I'm just gaining pro streamer points. Let's slip the puppy of war. Let me call the puppy. Here comes the puppy. Hello, Katie. You want to come and see me? Oh, did you just wake up from a nap? Come here. Your ear's sticking up. Oh, there's the puppy. Oh, yes, here's the puppy. Hello. Hello. What you doing? Did you just wake up from a nap? Oh, my goodness. What's going on? You want to look right here? No. Where are you going? Do the waggles. Just waggling some. Oh, so many sugars. Oh, now I'm getting the ear scratches. I want to do the ear scratches. Hello. There's the puppy. Where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, come here. Oh, got to stretch. Oh, no, I got to stretch the back legs. Oh, that was a good one. You must have been asleep on the couch. Come here. Come here. Oh, the puppy. Hello. You're so famous. You have a Twitch following. People like you more than they like me. Oh yeah, the waggles. We have an indicator, a unit of measure that we call WPM, which is waggles per minute. And when she gets excited, the WPMs go up. She hasn't been outside in quite some time, so I doubt that she just ate poop in the yard. She could have eaten poop in the yard. She eats poop. I'll risk it. Okay. So I had a thing about what's in the news. And it's actually an interesting moment. Okay, before I start in on what's in the news, let me do this rank 3. The number 18, clowns, and the floor is hot lava. Okay. Clowns has got to be number 3. Though I don't know. Because 18, does that mean, that could be 2018? 2018 was a pretty good year for me. I got a new job. I got to teach full time. So that 2018 was a good year, but 18 as a person was not so great for me. 18 was my senior year in high school, and I hated high school. And I do actually quite like the Floor is Hot Lava. If you've seen the show Community, the episodes that are the Floor is Lava, some of my favorite episodes. So I'm going to say Floor is Hot Lava, 18 clowns. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. Okay, so if I had to pick out of those 3 just as I would see them and go, ooh, there's a fight that I want to watch, Tyson Fury's got to be number 1, easy. I like Tyson Fury a lot. I like the mixed approach that he brings. It's not just beating people up. It's not just grappling. It's not just kicking people in the face. He's an all-around fighter. Man, Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua are really close, though. So Anthony Joshua I haven't seen him do as much stuff, so I don't feel like I can necessarily weigh in on him as much. I do like. I've seen, I think, 2 of his fights, maybe 1. So Tyson Fury's got to be 1, and I think that I have to probably put Deontay Wilder second because I've just seen more of his fights than I have Anthony Joshua. So Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. Okay, there's those 3. Okay, so what's in the news? There's been something going on in the news that I actually like to talk about, and I'm glad that you did that because now I get to kind of ramble a little bit. I'm going to turn on the modern borders, and we're going to go over here to Armenia and Azerbaijan. So if you've seen the news recently, you might have heard that Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting with each other, and they're fighting over this particular region, which is kind of right in here. And I've actually had a couple of people ask me about what's going on with the war. So let me give you a very surface level, very fast, not detailed, but kind of a rundown with what's going on with this region. It's called the Nagorno-Karabakh region. So, hey, Kelly Hallett, how's it going? And welcome to the stream. I'm clicking on that to zoom out. So, right around in here, these 3 countries, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, sit at an important crossroads. And we have to go all the way back to Rome and Persia in about the 200s BC. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's about, no. Now I'm questioning myself. Let's fast forward a little bit to where Armenia is actually its own country. So let's talk about Rome and the Parthians. Anyway, this region right here was an independent country called Armenia. And it sat on the border between the Roman Empire over here and the Persian Empire over here. And it also sat between what you might call civilized territory in that time period and what they called barbarian territory up here. And whomever controlled this region basically had this strategic victory over the other, because if you are Rome and you control this area, you are on the back side of this mountain range, which is called the Zagros mountain range, and you can attack down into the heartland of Persia without having to worry about going through Mesopotamia. And if you are Persia and you control this region, you get to attack right here into what would have been the Roman province of Pontia. So this region has been fought over for a very long time, over 2,000 years. But when we get to the Muslim expansions out of the Arabian Peninsula, especially after the big battle of Navahand, where the Persian Empire falls apart, Armenia had become Christian. And the region had been divided back in the 600s, well, even the 500s, between Rome and Persia. And they had split one side to be like Christian Roman ally, and the other side was Persian ally. And there were still some Christians there, but it wasn't as big of a thing. Heraclius settled this in 600 between them and the Roman Empire, Persian Empire, and Persian conquered. Yeah, in the 640s, then Islam shows up and it wrecks everybody's world, and Heraclius kind of loses his mind. And then the Persians completely fall apart, and Yazdegerd gets killed. Bad stuff goes down. But at that point, Armenia had kind of been separated. And when the Muslim people show up, this separation is going to be more evident, because Islam looks at Christianity differently than it looks at what they would call pagan religions. So some parts of this region are going to be treated better than others, which of course creates pretty long-lasting arguments. And if we continue to look at this area, Armenia and the region around it are going to be unified and then break apart, and then unified and then break apart. And this continues for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, if we get all the way up to the point where the Soviet Union is expanding and taking over stuff after World War II, this whole region gets unified into kind of one big country that gets all mushed together by the Russians, and they don't really care about which side is the Muslim side and which side is the Christian side, because they're the Russians and they're Soviets and Stalin, right? But when this region is gaining its independence, that's when stuff's going to get weird, because the lines of these countries are drawn not necessarily by the country's populations. They're sort of drawn for them. And Russia goes, here's your boundaries. And there has been territory on both sides of the border that Armenia holds to be Armenian territory, and the Azerbaijani hold to be Azerbaijani territory. And the region that we're talking about here, the Nagorno-Karabakh region, is one of these areas, and it's technically in Azerbaijan, right over here. But the population in that area is ethnically mostly Armenian and religiously Christian. And this is where the trouble is stemming. There has been a lot of conflict over this area going all the way back to the end of the Cold War. There were a few dust-ups right around 2000. There was some more violence in 2015, 2016. But things had been kind of calm around there until recently, when all of this modern stuff happened. And the problem that's happening right now is that these ancient aggressions between these two groups of people, these conflicts that go back thousands of years, are being manipulated by outside forces. Because you have the Turks who are trying to get into the game. You have the Russians who are trying to get into the game. You have the Iranians that are trying to get into the game. And all of these countries just want the power and the control. Nagorno-Karabakh is inhabited by Armenians. It's given by Stalin to Azerbaijan. Right. Like you say their boundaries weren't drawn by them. They were drawn by the Russians. And they go, this is your country now, go for it. And those people were like, but we don't like it. And they're like, well, then you did Stalin. So this problem that's starting recently between Armenia and Azerbaijan is not a new problem. And it's not even a problem that necessarily has new players. This is just round 100 of a really, really long argument that's been going on. So I'm glad I got a chance to talk about that. I've been kind of wanting to bring that up on stream. And I'm glad that somebody gave me the opportunity to run my mouth about it. There is oil there, and that is another complication. It is not as oil rich as some of the other areas in the region, but there is oil there. It's not a lot, but it's substantial enough that people want it. What's more there is the kind of natural gas and mineral resources in the mountains. Who shot first? You got to go in the most recent version. The people inside of Nagorno-Karabakh were kind of agitating towards rejoining Armenia, or I guess at this point it would be joining Armenia, and the Azerbaijani started trying to crack down on these protests and movements, and this has started a series of domino effects that has escalated to the point where all of these other countries are now involved. So it's a big mess, but it's not a new mess. I know sometimes when stuff happens, people are like, oh man, where did that come from? It's been around for a long time. On Saturdays, I can make do with a stream that's over between 12 a.m. and 4 p.m. your time. Okay, maybe we can squeeze that in on a Saturday. It won't be this Saturday, maybe next Saturday. So keep an eyeball on the Discord for the next viewer request stream, which will be the history of cheese. So there's that. 12 a.m. to 4 p.m. Hey, Arcadian, how's it going? Cheese! U.S. might have to look into the issue of road state called Turkey. Oh, yeah, well, Turkey has been... I don't even necessarily think it's Turkey as a whole. I really think it's Erdogan, the guy that's in charge of Turkey. That guy has been on a kick for about the last 6 years. Stop using the dumb PM AM clocks already. You and Mac in a lab coat would have a really fun time. Are you talking about 1,200 hours to 1,600 hours? Yeah, 1,200 to 16. Okay, yeah. I could do 1,200 to 1,600. I can't do it this coming Saturday because that's like 2 days from now, and I don't think I'll have enough time to put it together. Maybe the following Saturday. We'll see. I'll let you know. All right, ladies and gents. Let me see if we've got somebody that we can go raid. Now I have to mention another wonderful local town festival in Wisconsin called Cheese Fest. Cheese Fest. Okie dokie. Let's see who's on. Kirk Shannon is on. 8 p.m. is on. Cave Geek is on. Casty is on. Okay, so we have not raided Kirk in quite some time. I think we're going to go raid Kirk Shannon real quick. Great guy. Awesome artist. Super polite. Haven't raided him in a bit, so I feel like it's not necessarily his turn, but maybe his turn. Let me get to the raid button. Thanks for the Armenia explanation. I was wondering about that. Yeah, I'm glad to. Later, everyone. Thanks for the stream. Before we completely go and before I click the button, I have an interesting, weird little side project thing that people have been trying to talk me into doing. And that is building a model on stream. So I bought myself a present for my birthday. And it is a Gundam model. And I really like Gundams. I kind of want to know you all's opinion. Some people are interested in having me put this together on stream. I have a setup. I'm interested in doing it. No, my birthday was Tuesday. Who would be interested in watching that before we go? Do it while you teach history. I would definitely be talking in the background. Or you can give me opinions on that. Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor Barzini asked a question. Let me roll back up. You have a question before we go. Where the first man came from? The Great Rift Valley, somewhere around 220,000 years ago. That's probably, it depends on what you call a man. Are you talking about a hominin? If so, hominins go back like 100 or 1.3 million years ago, all the way back with Homo erectus. History of Gundam. You'd watch that. I'm down for mechs and robots. Okay. As long as you take history questions, I would absolutely be taking history questions. Man like us, I mean, yeah. So Homo sapien, about 220,000 years ago, sub-Saharan Africa, Great Rift Valley region, Ethiopia, Kenya, Eritrea, around in there. I might need another hat. A Gundam hat. Okay, well, that's interesting. So, let's go raid Kirk Shannon. What grade is the model? It is a master grade. I can't afford the perfect grades. Those things are like... So I'm going to click the button here. We're going to go raid Kirk. He's drawing inky stuff for Inktober. Thank you all for coming by. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good night. Follow me on the Discord. Come hang out. Come see me. Let's do some stuff later on. I'll keep everybody posted. Thank you very, very so much. Have a good one. I'll see everybody next time.